Welcome to European Railway issue number 102, the programme for everyone interested in Western European railways. In this issue, we have part 1 of a feature on the Rhône Valley route to the south of Lyon. We travel to Germany, where we look at the 2022 Dresden Steam Festival. The second part of our Slovenian railways feature from around Racek and Pivka. Local traffic south of Brussels in Belgium. And finally, we return to Dresden for action in and around the city's main station. In the first part of this programme, we begin our feature on the line that runs along the eastern side of the River Rhône down towards Valence and Avignon. We are just south of Lyon, between the city and the town of Valence to the south. Our cameraman chose 4 main locations as indicated here on our map. It's early in the morning of the 7th of September 2022, just to the north of Saint-Maurice-du-Exit, and the 629 from Valence to Lyon is made up of a 2-car Z23 and 2 3-car Z24 500 units. Heading south is the last of the class BB 26000 electrics still in service, number 234. As we write this script, 148 examples currently remain in traffic. This train is the daily connecting freight service from Lyon-Sibelin to Bordeaux, conveying mainly ambrosia swap bodies from Italy and a few tanks. Z27 500 units also ply this line, including this one, number 27532, on the 627 from Valence to Lyon. With the sun having risen, we are treated to a little more colour, and this engineer's train, powered by G2000 locos, number 1618 and 1605, and a lone 1608 on the rear. The ensemble has been out on overnight engineering duties and was heading back towards Lyon. Local-haul passenger services are also seen along here. This is the 720 Lyon to Marseille, powered at the rear by BB 22311. Another broken nose design is seen in the shape of straight DC powered electric number 7371, a new one for us on film. Just 98 of this class remain in service. In the opposite direction, another pair of double-deck units head south with the 636 from Rhône to Valence. After the morning and evening rush hour periods, these services run in a roughly hourly pattern in each direction. DB Cargo France, Class 66s, have a couple of turns each way per day on this line. Here we see 66195 on northbound containers. A welcome sight is this ex-BB 66400 diesel from a batch built between 1968 and 1971. The loco was one of 75 refurbished between 2004 and 2008, with its turn coming up in 2005, when it was released from Schöneweide Works on the 27th of July. It was refurbished and fitted with a new engine and renumbered as 69481. Dual-mode units are mainly used on services between Lyon and Briançon, such as this pair seen here. Slightly to the south, and we see dual voltage BB 22200 electric, number 22382, in charge of train 52532, the 2140 from Fals-Grévelu to Paris-Venisseau. The transmitter, seen in the distance, stands on top of the 1,362 metre high Mont Pilat. This is Unit Z24631, forming the 920 from Lyon to Avignon. Finally, from this location, it is the turn of 27034 with train 52361 from Paris-Veniseux to Fos-Grevelu. During the busiest periods, you can expect around 3 freight services per hour on this line on most weekdays. Heading south, and we are at Salé, which is the location for a large chemical works which sees regular trains to and from Lyon-Sibillon. We are not far from the town's now closed station. Heading towards the camera is 22351. On the rear of this, the 1520 from Lyon to Marseille. The sidings here stage the trains from Lyon, which are reversed into the nearby works. Point levers of various shapes and sizes can be seen close to our filming point. A few kilometres to the south and we are at Saint-Robert-d'Albon, where we have a couple of locations just south of the town. Approaching the camera under adverse signals is SNCF's 27054, hauling train 30986 from Le Boulou to Bettembourg in Luxembourg, with a good selection of German swap bodies on board. Unit 24350 works south, forming the 1020 Lyon to Avignon. Driving a half-kilometre down the dirt track, we get this view of infrastructure-owned 75021 on train 66001 from Chambéry to Port. Heading north is 27021 on train number 43112 from Cerbère to Antwerpen Nord. Lunchtime is busy on this line, with a good quantity of freight trains to be seen. Not only that, there are plenty of spots where you can get good angles for photography. Colas Rail's Class G1206 diesel, number 10, is hauling a pair of ex-DB Class 212 locos on this northbound engineers working, probably from the engineers' yard at Port, south of Valence. Heading south towards the camera is 26077. B81555 and 81700 have charge of the 1128 from Valence to Lyon par 2. A kilometre to the south, and Eurocargo Rail liveried 186307 heads train 49214 from Einsaldorf to Cerbère. Our final section from France comes from Rhône, around 30 kilometres north of Valence and a few hundred metres east of the River Rhône. A grass bank close to the village's cemetery provides the vantage point. 27008 is the first to be seen on this southbound intermodal at just before 20 to 2 in the afternoon of the 7th of September 2022. Z24513 leads a fellow classmate north under the various bridges that stretch through the village. 27053 leads diesel number 60030 on this set of southbound empty tanks from probably Sibelon Yard in Lyon to the refinery at Fos-Coussoul near Marseille. To the south of us, the sky was becoming very much darker as a thundery shower edged its way closer to our position. Clearly, the amount of time left for us filming was reducing by the minute. But what would come along next? It didn't take long for something to show. Here we have 26059 in drab grey livery heading a northbound train of covered hopper wagons that I used for carrying sugar, and was followed by a set of reefers. This is the 1320 from Lyon to Avignon, formed with bimode units numbers B81700 and 81555. Camera tripods and lightning don't usually mix, so with downwards facing electricity getting ever closer, our time here was inevitably drawing to a close. It was still dry enough for this shot of 186171, heading a very lightly loaded 42282 from Kaldenkirchen to Perpignan. Time for one more before we moved on. Here's 27009 and 030 on train 41800 from Antwerpen Nord to Cerbère. We'll be back on this route to continue our journey south in the next edition of European Railway. In our next section of this programme, we have the first of two visits centred around the 14th Dresdner Dampfloktreffen, held over the weekend of the 23rd and 25th of September 2022. As part of the events on the Saturday, two visiting steam locomotives, number 012066 and 011519, took a special train from Dresden to the Railway Museum at Berlin Schöneweide, where we begin the programme. The museum recreates the scene of an old historic roundhouse and is the home to many heritage railway vehicles and locomotives, a number of which were on display when we visited on the 24th of September. The turntable offers the focal point for this view of some of the stock positioned outside of the roundhouse. The two locos that brought the special trip up from Dresden are seen here on the way to the turntable before being split, when they will go off to take on more coal, oil and water for the return journey. The museum is open on most weekends, and in addition offers steam haul trips around Berlin using their Class 52 steam loco number 52817, and to further destinations using preserved diesel power, usually number 119158. It's well worth a look around if you are in the area.
sieht gut aus. Im Moment noch ja, weil das weiter weg ist. Komm mal weiter. Ja, weiter. go weiter.
We took the train back to Dresden, behind Class 193 number 297, which is seen here leaving Dresden main station, with the 1516 departure from Berlin to Prague. A Class 101 is on the rear of this intercity service, arriving on the far platforms. Local S-bound services are in the hands of classes 112, 143 and 146. Here 146212 heads a service from Meißen to Bad Schandau. Freight traffic, even on a weekend, is continuous, with at least 2 an hour. Here 193783 heads south with fuel tanks. Another Class 193 Vectron, which are everywhere around Europe these days, except maybe in France. But even that will change soon, as one is already there on test. The train here is a Budapest to Berlin Eurocity service.
Information zu RB31 von Cockpit. Weiter als RE15 nach Eulenberger über Dresden-Neustadt. Abfahrt 17:51 Uhr, heute von Gleis 5. Ich wiederhole, RE15 nach Eulenberger über Dresden-Neustadt. Abfahrt 17:51 Uhr.
We'll pop back to Dresden later on in this programme. In the previous edition of European Railway, we looked at traffic through Racek in Slovenia. Well, we're back again to complete our visit, with 2 locations featured, again at Racek, but also from the junction town of Pivka, a little further south. Our maps pick out the locations chosen. The early and rather misty morning of the 3rd of October 2022 greets us here at Racek, as Unit 312132 arrives with a train for Ljubljana. Sister Unit 312005 heads in the opposite direction, with a service from Ljubljana to Pivka. The unit will then form a train down to Rijeka in Croatia. What makes this line attractive to rail fans is the sheer amount of freight that uses it. Here 363014 heads northbound containers from the port of Koper. This is Class 342 veteran number 001, dating from 1968 and still going strong. New Unit 510021 is on the 7 o'clock from Via Opicina to Ljubljana service. The sun was quickly melting away some of the early morning mist when 363036 headed south with this freight bound for Koper. Whilst waiting for our train down to Pivka, 363018 headed south on containers. time to head to Pivka, and greeting us on the first train we saw was the 363018 once again, on its container train bound for Koper. Unlike Rakek, the best time to film or photograph here is in the morning, before the sun moves around. There's no access to the land on the other side of the tracks for photography without trespassing. (541.009) was on the next train that we saw some 20 minutes later. Also held at Dresden, which is just north of here, as a result of single line working, was another that we've seen that morning, number 363036, with vans bound for Koper. The level of freight which we are seeing through here is what is represented on a so-called quiet Monday morning, the day of the week with the least freight traffic. Waiting patiently for the previous train to come off the single line working, there was one track up being replaced by engineers around a kilometre north of here on numbers 541019 and 020, with loaded fuel tanks from Koper to Ljubljana. 363001 and 026 arrive with a rake of empty car transporters. So far, we'd been at this station for just over 1 hour. 541107 was the next to appear on what we think was a trainload of scrap metal, with protective sheeting over each wagon. The unit we have just seen is new, and so too is this. One of 4 Class 646 locos for use in the port of Koper. This is number 3, presumably on its way to Ljubljana for maintenance. Moving down to the south end of the station, and 363034 is on another set of containers bound for Koper. These French-built locos operate around half of the freight seen through here. This Class 911 diesel rail car is used for line maintenance. This example is seen arriving and heading off to the nearby engineer's siding. This is 363019. So it was that just over 2 hours since our arrival here, it was 541105, which headed south on a train bound for Italy. It would take the right-hand line at nearby Davaccia instead of the left line for Cooper. And still the freight traffic continues. Here we have 541014 unloaded biomass. Our intended passenger train was running around an hour late, and so we were able to see a number of extra freight movements as a result, including this one in the shape of X-Works 363011. After 2 hours and 50 minutes on the platforms, our last train of our stopover arrives behind 541-109. This line is in our eyes exceptional and can't be recommended enough, especially if you plan to spend some time in the area yourself. We stopped off for just over an hour at Nivelles in Belgium to see what action there was. Quite busy as it turned out, as we will see now. Situated south of the capital city Brussels, it is in prime commuter land, with a fast and frequent set of services to the capital and beyond. We chose a spot just north of the town, at what is now a disused station, which would have served the local area when there was a junction of lines here. Engineering work on a couple of the through tracks meant that passenger trains were taking it slow through the abandoned platforms. Siemens Desiro Class AM08 electric multiple units, numbers 182 and 027, are the first train sets to be seen as they head north with a stopping service bound for Antwerpen. The AM08 units were in charge of most services, which is not surprising given that there are a lot of them. Numbers 581 and 564 round the curve heading towards the camera. A bit more variety and a great design of front end. Here we see AM75 to AM77 series units, numbers 834 and 812. A good number of these units, although refurbished, are either stored or withdrawn. AM08, 546 and 543 take a different route on their way towards Brussels. The main station in Nivelles is around a kilometre away in the left distance. Numbers 824 and 813 head north. The first example is an AM76 unit, whilst the rear set is an AM75. They come in various liveries of Bordeaux red or this white and blue refurbished livery. They also come with or without graffiti. Aha! A bit of local hauled action now, with Class 18, number 1892, seen rounding the curve on double-deck stock. The Class 18 are triple voltage, able to work off 3000 volts DC overhead and also 15 kV and 25 kV AC. Top speed is 230 km per hour. Finally, AM08 unit number 15 heads northbound for Brussels. 210 straight 3000 volt DC capable units are further supplemented by another 95 dual voltage versions. So as you would expect, they are commonplace over the entire network. With a whiff of steam in the air, it is time to return to Germany and the 14th Dresden Steam Engine Festival, held over the weekend of the 23rd to the 25th of September 2022. We'll also be heading west to see some steam out on the main line, as well as a lunchtime and early afternoon observation at Dresden main station. The map here shows our various filming locations, with 2 positions featured close to the main station. We begin though on one of the highlight evenings, the illuminated evening photo event at the Dresden Museum's Roundhouse. This time held on the Saturday night, the 24th of September. We bagged a position just in front of the turntable, below the assembled gallery of photographers. We begin with preserved Class 52 number 8141, on the turntable after arriving from working a special train out on the main line. We'll see the loco again later. Next to come out for the awaiting photographers was 53648, the original 50967, built in 1941. The loco has been operational since 2015. The locomotive was converted to its present guise in 1961, with a new boiler and other equipment fitted by the then Deutsche Reichsbahn.
Flugumstand 4 dort bleiben und nicht weiter herauszukommen. Flugumstand 3 genauso. Es ist immer ein bisschen schwierig, die Maschinen so weit reinfahren zu lassen, dass sie so halbwegs grenzt.
Number 528141 now belongs to the Ostsaalsische Eisenbahnfreunde and is mainline certificated. It was involved in working a number of special trains during the event. Built in 1944 at Katowice, the loco has really never been formally withdrawn from working as a living museum piece since retiring from the active fleet around 1976, before entering preservation and finally ending up with OSE at nearby Lubau. The loco went through a major reconstruction by the East German Railway, the Deutsche Reichsbahn, in 1965 and was formally numbered as 525315. Its boiler life expired back in 1998, and in 2012 the OSE looked at bringing the loco back to life with the aid of a local government grant of €800,000. Work began at Meiningen in 2018, but repeated problems with the motion has dogged the loco's return, with the last of the various issues finally being dealt with in early 2022.
Gleich rauskommen soll.
Next it was motor tractor ASF number 1 to have its moment in the limelight, when it was used to pull out static exhibit number 19107. Celebrating its 100th birthday, the 19107 is the only member of the DR Class 19, where it was originally taken over from the Royal Saxon State Railways and now resides here at the Dresden Transport Museum. The 4-cylinder 282 is cosmetically restored, but is a fine example of this most impressive class of locomotive. Out working on the main line to Berlin that day were 01-2066 and 01-1519. Here 01-2066 arrives for water and fuel replenishment. The Class 01 dates from 1939 and is an oil-fired example. After the Second World War, the entire class ended up working on the DB West German network. The loco weighs in at 180 tons and has a 2-metre wide driving wheel diameter and a top speed of 140 km per hour. Next to arrive was number 2066's partner for the day, number 01-1519. This is a rebuilt loco dating from 1964, being the X01186, which was originally constructed in 1937. The following day, we travelled by train to Klingenberg-Kollnitz to watch a dual ascent of the steep Tarrant grade up from Dresden, with a goods train running in parallel with 53648 on the front of a special passenger train. However, engineering work scuppered the spectacle, and the trains went up the gradient individually. We caught up with 528141 hauling its rake of hopper wagons. (53648) and its train had preserved electric number E7710 on the rear, which was then leading on the return working back from Freiburg. 528141 then returned with its goods train on its way back down the grade towards Dresden. We now head to Dresden's main station, and to 3 locations in and around the complex. The positions chosen are seen here on our map. Looking down on the running lines, we see a pair of Class 642 diesel units, numbers 301 and 302, belonging to private operator Vogtlangbahn. The nearest 2 tracks are the main freight lines, as we again look down onto Vectron dual mode, number 248008, and Bombardier's diesel, number 285107, paired up on this smart rail working bound for the Czech Republic. In the opposite direction is 146559, with stock forming the 1318 service to Rostock. One 12146 is next to appear. These 2 Class 143s are stabled ready for their next turn of duty. Vogtlangbahn operates services to the east into the Czech Republic and towards Poland. Here another set of Class 642 diesel units are seen. The first, numbers 317 and 307, are on the 12 o'clock from Skårselec and are passed by the 1329 departure for Liberec, utilising numbers 304 and 346. 143-910 heads back towards Tarente. (411-053) arrives from Frankfurt and is passed by 151-145. A bit closer to track level now, and we see 442-648 departing the station. Next to appear is 193-220 on a container train bound for Prague. S-Bahn services between Meissen and Bad Schandau are generally operated using Class 146 electrics. This is number 017. We were lucky enough to see two Class 151s in a space of 45 minutes. This is 151-138 heading for nearby Pirna. The stock for the afternoon special excursion to Lubau with diesel 112481 and steam locomotive 528141 passed by our camera.
Den langsam vorbeifahren, so gut, ne? Wieder ins Stadion. Wo wir den dann rein?
Here we have 143925. As 528141 and its train disappear from view, we hope that you have enjoyed this edition of European Railway.